good or bad information, knowledge about the company must be disclosed to the society so that the group of investors can decide whether to remain invested or to go out, and then they can also decide the price. And the second thing SEBI does is to insist on corporate governance. So certain acts of corporate governance have to be done. Corporate governance in itself is a big area. If somebody is interested, we can talk about that. But these are two methods, through disclosures and corporate governance, that we ensure that all the information is given. But for a corporate, if you look at the point of view of a corporate, raising money is onerous. Raising money is time-taking because SEBI's requirements are quite large. Huge requirements are there. Disclosure requirements are also quite onerous, which SMEs find it very difficult to do. And our problem is that how do we relax it? If we relax it, then there will be some mishap and the investor's interest will not be protected. So these platforms, and I'll tell you about this, what are the details of these platforms. What we have aimed at is to combine the two and create a balance. The interest of the investors and also the interest of the corporates, we have tried to combine. The highlights are that they can raise up to rupees 10 crores. The capital has to be, face value has to be less than 10 crores. And if you are less than 10 crores, now you cannot go to the main board of BSE. You have to come to the SME platform. Between 10 crore and 25 crore, and this 10 and 25 is face value, not the actual value. Then you have a choice. You can go to the SME platform or you can go to the main board. And in case of large corporates, the filing and the vetting of documents are done by SEBI. Here we have said that there is no need for you to come to SEBI. The stock exchanges can themselves do it. We have made it easier for them. Basically, we have tried to simplify things so that the corporates can raise the money. We have, for example, said that if you have a 3 years track record and the minimum allottees can be 50, otherwise, if an IPO is done, initial public offering is done, and the number of investors is more than 1,000, SEBI asks the company to return the money. We say that this is not a liquid enough scrip and we won't allow trading. But in case of SME platform, the 1,000 number has been brought down to 50. And we have less stringent requirements on capital raising. And for example, the annual report, which can be very cumbersome, we have said that it can be an abridged annual report. The financial results are normally published and given to all the shareholders. In case of SME platform, we have said that it can be there on their website. So from here you will find that we have made a lot of concessions so that the corporates can raise money easily, relatively easily. These are again some more details about how the process has been simplified. We have also said that there has to be market making, and there has to be the merchant banker has to do market making. This is an important point. This 2005 Indo-Next experiment failed because market making was not compulsory. Market making in plain and simple language means that somebody is undertaking that he will be providing the liquidity to that script, which means he will offer quotes for both and buy and sell. And if there is any sell, he has to buy. If there is any buy, he has to sell. So two-way quotes are given. Normally, you decide either to buy a scrip or to sell a scrip. But these liquidity providers, which we have insisted in case of SME platforms, the whole idea is that they will have to give two-way quotes. And that compulsory market making has been insisted upon by SEBI for a period of 3 years. More importantly, we have to ring fence a very small investor from getting into an SME platform. We have said that the minimum amount that can be invested is rupees 1 lakh. Less than 1 lakh cannot be invested on the SME platform. So in this way, at least very small investors, we have tried to ring fence them and keep them away. There is a compulsory market making and there is underwriting by the merchant bankers. So these are some of the measures which we have taken to provide the growth of the segment. Now kindly go back to the slide where we are talking about the money raised in the year 2010-11, which was the best year, and less than 25 crore, how many companies and how much money was raised. And that money was 59 crores. I'm happy to report to you that this platform has been a huge success. We started it in March 2012. One company was listed in March 2012. 17 companies were listed, I'm talking BSE. 17 companies were listed during the year 12-13, and 32 companies have been listed during 13-14. And I'm assured that at least 10 more companies are going to be listed. Now I'd like to draw your attention that there are 4 companies have been listed on NSE. NSE has also got a platform. So 50 companies of BSE, 4 companies of NSE. 54 companies, they have been able to raise money to the tune of 526 crores. Kindly compare it to the earlier regime where in the best year, if you ask for the numbers for the year 11, 12 or 12, 13, maybe you will find that hardly 10 or 12 crores have been raised. Here this much money has been raised. More importantly, I would like you to appreciate that there is a requirement of SEBI that if a company is trying to get listed on the stock exchange, they have to offer at least 25% to public. So this money that has been raised is what? It is 25% of the total capital of that company, because this is a SEBI requirement. I'm presuming the minimum, and they have all come to around 25% because it is a SEBI requirement. So if you look at 526 crores as being 25%, that means around 2,100 crore was the capital, the total capital of these companies. And in less than 2 years, now their market value has become more than 5,000 crore. So kindly appreciate the advantage. I must give a disclaimer that I'm not guaranteeing that every company which will be listed will be making money or the investor will be making money. Kindly don't get that impression that I have come for that sales speech. But this is a data over the period when we started this platform, and 526 crore in 54 companies, and only the 50 companies which were listed on the SME platform of BSE, their market cap has become 5,000 crores. So in about 1.5 years to 2 years, roughly, it has become 2.5 times. So the investor who was there, he has made money, and the promoter now, if he wants to go for further raising of capital, if an SME wants to go for further raising of capital, he will be armed with this track record that here is the return which my company has given to the investors. So the point I would like to highlight here is that this effort has been a reasonable success so far. And part of the reason is that we have been, and we have learned by experience. It's not that we had the wisdom to do it and how to go about it. What we have done is, on the one hand, we have ring-fenced small investors. On the other hand, we have made it very easy for the companies to raise money by reducing some of the requirements of SEBI, diluting them, making it simple, and at the same time providing for compulsory market making. Theoretically, yes. Again, when I'm talking about the market cap and others, I have to always give a disclaimer that I'm not guaranteeing a particular thing. But academically speaking, this is most likely to happen. If there was no slowdown, maybe they would have gone much higher. I'll give you another number. BSE has created an index for the companies which are listed on BSE's SME platform. They have created an index. In 2012, they created this. An index was created at level 100. Yesterday, before I was coming to this place, I tried to check up, and it is available publicly, so it's not something you can go to the BSE website and you will find. That index is today 661. So you can imagine that index has gone 6 times. So I would like to understand it in the following way, that this is a platform, this is an initiative which has helped companies to raise money relatively easily, and what we have succeeded in is to ensure that there is enough liquidity, and liquidity has been ensured because there is compulsory market making. So if you have invested in that company today and you want to go out after a month or whenever, you don't have to worry. All our past experiments failed because there was no liquidity. Then people thought that if I invest in this company, my money is stuck up. So that liquidity is there.
Trading is easily possible.
Sorry?
Trading is easily possible.
I couldn't hear you.
Trading is easily possible.
Trading is possible, yes. Liquidity means that trading is possible. Whenever you want to exit, whenever you want to enter, you can do that. Because there are market makers who have to compulsorily provide two-way quotes, the buy quotes and the sales quote. Obviously, there is a demand on SEBI from various interested quarters that this is very strong and onerous requirement. Don't do it for 3 years, reduce it by 1 year or so. We are not going to listen to them. We feel that in order to ensure that this market grows, we have to keep it that way. Now I am going to talk to you about another experiment which we have done, and you might have heard, some of you might have heard about the AIF platform on London Stock Exchange. Is anybody aware of that? Alternate investment platform on London Stock Exchange. There are similar platforms on NYSE, New York Stock Exchange. There are similar platforms in Tokyo. There are similar platforms in Singapore. There are similar platforms in Hong Kong. So in this budget, 2013 budget, the finance minister announced that we are going to have a system of listing without IPO. When we are saying without IPO, we mean that small investors will not be participating. Only qualified people who are experts in the financial market and who are sitting with money, who can decide, who are capable of deciding where to invest, where not to invest. We call them QIBs, qualified institutional buyers. So we have now created that platform, and we were able to create that in the month of October 2013, and I'm happy to tell you that already 2 listings have taken place. 2 companies have already listed. What it means this, and I'll explain that. This makes it eligible for startups and SMEs to raise money without offering the shares to retail, to the public at large. You are not offering shares to public at large. That's why we are saying without IPO. You are offering shares to qualified institutions, banks, pension funds, mutual funds, alternate investment funds. You are offering money to them. And the listing process does not involve an IPO or private placement, and this can be approved by the stock exchange. And one advantage is that once you do that, the requirements of various other SEBI regulations like takeover regulations are not kicked in. We have given them exemption. Takeover in this limited subject is that in any normal situation, if somebody is acquiring more than X percentage of a company at a particular price, then SEBI insists that you have to make an open offer to others also at the same price. Because otherwise, you will take it from the promoter at a certain price, and then later on, the small investor, the minority investors will not be able to sell it, and the prices might drop. So in order to protect their interest of the small investors, we have this requirement called open offer requirement under takeover regulations. In this case, since there are no retail investors, we have given them exemption from the takeover requirements, because there are no retail investors here, and they can remain listed here, and the minimum amount which anybody can invest here is rupees 10 lakhs, because it is institutions. In the first one, in the SME platform, the minimum amount was 1 lakh, here it is rupees 10 lakhs. During the course of the talk, I'll try to tell you what are the various alternatives which SEBI has provided, and the details. For example, SME platform, it was rupees 1 lakh, here it is rupees 10 lakhs. And this is more or less on the same pattern as the London alternate investment market or the Tokyo market or the NYSE market. For the investor, there is one major advantage here, because if you have invested in a company or bought the shares of a company and you exit from that company after some time, short term or long term, there is an incidence of capital gains tax. But if you do that transaction on the stock exchanges, then you don't have to pay the capital gains tax. There is a tax called securities transaction tax. Only that tax is applicable. This is a tax which was introduced in 2004. It was a conscious decision of the government that to encourage investment in the securities market, they will have STT instead of capital gains. Long-term capital gains is not applicable there. So all these examples that I'm giving here, both as an individual or as an institution, the investor has one additional advantage besides what all we have provided, that the incidence of tax is substantially reduced. So that's another major advantage. Again, there are some major requirements of the platform we have said. Only one thing I would like to add here is that imagine yourself to be an SME, right early in the process of setting up the company or within 1 or 2 years, you may have got a venture capital or an angel investor to invest in your company. Now in India, one of the biggest problems was the venture capital funds were protesting that suppose we have invested in that company, but we have to exit. We are not here to run that company. Our funds are there for a limited period. How do I exit? And the only way they could exit was through the mechanism of IPO. So there are large number of companies even today where venture capital funds or private equity funds are stuck up. They have invested, they feel that the market has reached a particular potential and they can get their valuation, but either the promoter is not ready or the market is not good and they are stuck up. So for them, venture capital, mutual funds, insurance companies, pension funds, this platform provides a very good mechanism of exchanging shares amongst themselves. So what I mean is that suppose a venture capital has invested in a company, after 3, 4, 5 years, the venture fund wants to exit, and that company is already there listed on the institutional trading platform of SEBI. So the price discovery is there. There cannot be any dispute because it is a liquid market. At what price that share can be sold, that is determined by the market. So the price discovery happens. And because the price discovery happens, they can now exit. It's a very early days, it's very, very early days because we started only in October and 2 companies have just been listed there. My expectation is that like the SME platform, this will be also a huge success. And this provides benefit to the promoter, to the SME, also to the venture capital funds and others who are investors in that particular company. Yes.
Sir, does it actually work against the principle of retail participation in the capital market? Because you're actually, evading the retail investors, from investing.
What do you mean by keeping them away from the retail investors? The whole idea is that here is a company, otherwise there is no interest in that company, either from retail or institutions. This company is starved of capital, and earlier I told you about the Bihar data, that how companies are starved of capital. So for this small universe of companies, it is easy if this facility is provided to them. And we have time limits. You can't remain listed on the alternate trading platform forever. After a certain time period, you have to come to the main board. That is also one of the provisions. So don't think it from the point of view of depriving the investors from a good issue. If it was a good issue, then the promoter would himself have come. Nothing prevents the promoter from coming to the main board. Nothing prevents the promoter from coming to the SME platform. So this is dealing with a very, very small group of companies, and basically these are meant for technology companies. Technology companies have a genuine feeling and genuine demand that their valuation is not yet known, is not yet discovered. Their price discovery will take years. They have huge potential, but an ordinary retail investor does not know the potential of my company. So for new technology industries, this will provide a very good mechanism for raising capital. And kindly don't think it in the context of depriving the retail. Retail has enough options. Let him invest in other companies. But these are meant for a particular type or group of companies. We also did it because our feeling was that in places like London AIM, this has been a huge success. And if you study the developments in London, London is one of the most important one, you will discover that many of the companies which are initially listed on the AIM, they graduate to the main platform. So at that stage, retail will come in. Now I am talking of venture capital funds and the private equity funds. This is another method through which SMEs can raise money. We have come out with our requirements. We have come out with a new set of regulations in 2012. Earlier we used to call it the venture capital regulations, but now we have provided for three class of alternate investment funds. And these regulations came out in 2012. Category 1 is the venture capital funds, including angel funds and SME funds, social venture funds, infrastructure funds. And category 2 is the private equity funds. The difference between category 1 and category 2 is that category 2 can also do some lending. They can do some borrowing. So they can do some leveraging, whereas the category 1 funds cannot do leveraging. And category 3 is basically funds like the hedge funds. Now, all these three categories, I'll give you the data first. The features are that in an alternate investment fund, the minimum amount to be invested is rupees 1 crore. So these are funds not meant for small investors. These are not meant for retail. These are funds meant for high net worth individual or for institutions. So the minimum size of the fund has to be 20 crores. Minimum investment by an individual has to be rupees 1 crores, and they have to be limited to 1,000 investors. They cannot have more than 1,000 investors. Then it becomes a mutual fund or something like that. And the category 1 and 2 have to be a close-ended, which means you raise the money, you raise the corpus, and then start investing. You can't make it open-ended that while you are making investments, you are again raising. You can raise a second fund, you can raise a third fund, but it has to be close-ended. So you close it, and we have also provided that people who are floating the venture capital funds, they also have to make some investments in the fund. So this is what we call the skin in the game. So that has also been provided, and the units can be listed. Again, the main advantage here is that the category 1 funds and category 2 funds will have tax pass-through status. What it means is that any income to the fund will not be counted as the income to the fund itself. This will be passed on to the original investors. In simple language, what it means is that there is no double incidence of taxation. There is only one single incidence of taxation on the investors of that fund, or the alternate investment fund. What does an alternate investment fund do? They invest generally in startups. They invest in small companies, and you must be reading in newspapers or other journals that how our industry is growing in this area. We have also come out with regulations for angel funds. There was a demand, and we have done it recently, that there may be people, there may be individuals who want to be angel investors. They want to help startups to come up. So how to define them? So we have defined them, and they have to have a corpus of at least rupees 10 crores. Minimum investment has to be rupees 25 lakhs. This idea came to us because some alumni of IITs as a group, they came and met us. And they said that we want to help grow the startups. We want that small companies or startups can grow. But we don't have 10 crores, we don't have 1 crore. We can pay only up to rupees 25 lakhs. But as a group, we can get some money. So we have now provided for angel investors. And angel investors, I have again given the details here. They also have the advantage of a tax pass-through. And this tax benefit is a very strong benefit for the investors of these alternate investment funds. Now, if you look at the number, the first column is how many AIFs are registered. The second is how much commitment they have made. In this industry, you declare your intention that how much money you want to raise, and then you get a commitment, and then you actually raise some money. So if you go to the second last column and you find the total of category 1, so 699 crores has been actually raised by them. In this financial year up to December, entire venture capital industry has been able to raise about 700 crores. And they have actually made an investment of 203 crores. If you also add all of them put together, then about 2,900 crores have been raised. There is one more alternative for trading and fundraising which we have provided, is the dissemination board. What it means is that most of the regional stock exchanges do not have any trading. They are lying closed. And they are lying closed for a very long time. In fact, since 2004, there has been no trading on these stock exchanges. There are only 3 national stock exchanges today where trading on the equity side is taking place, and there is 1 stock exchange where trading in the currency side is taking place. So there are total 3 plus 1, 4 exchanges. Other exchanges are closed. So the problem is that if there is a company which is listed on Coimbatore Stock Exchange, and it is listed only on Coimbatore, it is not listed anywhere else, then what happens to the investors of that company? They are stuck up. There is no exit for them. So what we have provided now, what SEBI has provided is that we have provided a board, a dissemination board, where the companies which are listed exclusively on one particular regional stock exchange, those shares can be listed on this dissemination board. This is also a new experiment, and that experiment has been started only this year. From Hyderabad Stock Exchange, which is not working now, 3 companies have indicated they are likely to be listed there very soon. So what we are aiming at is to provide some opportunity for these companies which are stuck up because their stock exchange where they were originally listed, that stock exchange is lying closed. So this is another method that we have provided. I'd like to sum up here that we have now been able to provide a SME platform on the national stock exchanges where SMEs can get listed. There, the requirements of the companies have been diluted, but at the same time, the type of investors who can come has also been restricted, and only those who can invest rupees 1 lakh and more have been allowed to invest there. The second scheme which we have is about the institutional trading platform like London AIM and other parts of the world. That has also just started. 2 companies have got listed there. Then we have the mechanism of the venture capital funds and private equity funds, which we call alternate investment funds. They have also been able to raise in this year so far around 700 crores. And finally, we have the mechanism for companies which were listed originally on regional stock exchanges. We have provided dissemination boards. So this is the entire bouquet of services, entire bouquet of trading platforms that we have been able to provide. My purpose of coming here was to try to make you aware of these things, and it will help if the industry associations, academic bodies also try to propagate this, make it aware to the class of entrepreneurs and promoters that these are some of the mechanisms which government and SEBI have provided. Maybe some of you have some ideas about how to modify these platforms. We can get into that. We are willing to look at suggestions of further improving them. But at this stage, my feeling is that there is a strong need for all of us to try to be aware of it, to understand it, and to propagate it. I once again, I would like to thank Mr. Chandrasekhar and the organizers for inviting me here. I have really enjoyed talking to you, and I look forward to answering any of your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next, I would like to call upon Professor Rajiv to take upon the session.
What we plan now is to have a panel discussion, if you will, followed by questions and answers. So the panel discussion basically is in the form of responses by the panelists, Mr. Sanjay and Mr. Balagopal, and myself. So all three of us will offer brief comments, maybe 5 to 10 minutes long, on what Mr. Sinha has discussed. And then we'll open up the floor to questions. Okay? So that's what we'll do now. So let me invite Sanjay to start.
So happy to be here with all of you. I'll give you my brief comments on what my experience has been and small observations, because we pretty much got an approval to list, but couldn't for various reasons. We raised the funding. We've also registered category 1 angel investment fund and working with SEBI to get that operational. So here's the good side. The good side is, like Sinha sir was saying, from almost no systems, we're very much evolving into a process where now there are basic systems and frameworks and ideas and processes in place. This is highly appreciated. When we started up in 2006, there was absolutely no ecosystem to even raise any amount of capital. I mean, you were almost like lost in the sea. So the good side is, we've started setting up the basic frameworks. But my observations are as a technology entrepreneur. So I'm very focused and niche to the technology and knowledge industry, and I'll define these terms. The second side is which I feel is the bad side is we are playing catch up. Technology companies they compete with the best in the world. So we all operate on an internet economy, and in the internet there is no borders. There is no customs duty or anything. Google just comes to India. It's a US company, they come to India. It's not like, a Ferrari car has a tax when they come to India. So the good side is you can go back to a US economy as well, but knowledge economy works very, very differently, unlike traditional manufacturing or other class of industries. So let me define this piece, and that's where my whole thought process lies. See, I think overall in an industry perspective, we were in an agrarian age for almost like 10,000 years. And from an agriculture-based economy, we moved to an industrial economy around 1950s. And I think we are at the early stage of knowledge economies. So what we mean by knowledge economy is more than land, labor, or capital. People, ideas, and creative infrastructure are now more important. The idea of a Twitter, the idea of a Facebook, these are now practically very potent billion-dollar industries. And these ideas and people are now turning to be very, very critical. And let me, for the understanding of the audience, define what is a startup. So I'll repeat, my observations are very much niche to technology and knowledge industries. So I don't have experience of the manufacturing, which I think Balagopal will more stress on. And the startups that we are seeing in Kerala, we're all very much focused on the knowledge economy. So let me define a startup. See, a startup is, in very simple terms, a human institution designed to work in extreme uncertainty. So I'll repeat, a startup is a human institution designed to work in conditions of extreme uncertainty. A startup is unlike any traditional industry. See, in a traditional industry, you work on planning, forecast, and business plans, which means you leverage past operating data of the last 3 years to make predictions for the next 3 years. A technology-based startup industry cannot make predictions for the next 1 year. Forget, in Silicon Valley, people are doing annual reviews every 3 months. If you make a plan for a year, you're totally outdated in the technology startup industry. And in these cases, You know, the regular funding mechanisms like banks, these are not applicable to technology-based startups. The reason is banks are very good in evaluating, you know, structured products. So if you're going to build a hotel, you know, there are hundreds of hotels before you. But when you're going to build a new idea, you know, mostly there is no previous comparison. So it becomes very difficult for banks to fund these companies. And then comes the equity mechanism. The challenge here is, you know, in India, and this is not specific to Kerala, in India generally, the early stage equity investment is almost absent. It's extremely difficult to raise your first 10 lakhs, your first 25 lakhs, and then prove your proof of concept, and then you take your product to the next stage. You know, this is the biggest gap in the Indian industry, and then almost every startup out there, we see in Startup Village and other places, they require these first 25 lakhs, and this gap is high. And this is where the culture of angel investing comes in, and this is almost absent in India. You know, we have an equity stock market culture, but we don't have an angel investing culture. So let me define this fact also. So how many of you have invested in stocks? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so like 10% of the audience, maybe 5 to 10%. Okay, so here is my proposition, right? And this is live examples from a company which raised from almost 1 crore, and I'll bring out these differences. See if, you know, so let's take the example of Morgan. I hope at least few of you understand the example of